My name is Dan Bollier, and I'm at the Statue of Liberty, and you're watching Let Freedom Ring. Welcome to Let Freedom Ring. As you've noticed on the Facebook and Instagram pages, we are trying to find out what is the best movie out of the Halloween and the Friday the 13th. So we've been posting all week, so please get your votes in. We're doing a head-to-head competition here. Friday the 13th is in October this month, and I can't recall the time that's happened. But anyways, my guest this week, Sam Hill. Sam, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, pleasure to have you on. Let's get to know you a little bit. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
So I was born and raised for the first half of my life in Lowell. Moved up to Hudson, New Hampshire just before I turned 13, where I pretty much stayed. My parents still live there. And currently residing in Manchester. We bought a house there in 2020.
Awesome, awesome. Now, going from Lowell to Hudson, I know, they're not far away from each other, but they're kind of different places.
So
how was that transition?
It was actually kind of funny because being just about to be a teenager or whatever, I followed my sister's footsteps, who's 4 years older than me, and she and I are polar opposites. So back then, I was kind of also in my rebellious teen phase for a little bit of not wanting to move because Alvern has a farm in the back of it. So it's very, very different from downtown Lowell. But at the end of the day, the older I get, the more I realize how much more I prefer like the quiet small towns, and I just want to be as far away from the city as possible. I'm
the same way. Like, I went to New York City this weekend, and obviously it's cool to be there, but like I can't, like, how do people function there?
My best friend moved to California about 7 years ago. She's in Oakland, and every time we go there, we get in the car, and even 10 minutes down the road, we're sitting in like 20 minutes traffic.
Oh gosh.
I tell her, I was like, how do you do that? And she's like, oh, I just got used to it. I'm like, could never be me.
Does she drive her car a lot there, or is it like it takes, the subway or whatever?
Yeah, she drives her car. She works in the city and stuff, but anytime if we go into the city, we'll take, it's called the BART. So it's like their public transportation train thing. So it's nice and stuff, but it's still a lot.
Yeah. No, I can imagine.
It's not for me.
No. I mean, Lowell's not like a huge city, but Lowell's a lot like Nashua and stuff. But
it's just busy.
Yeah, it's too much. Now, what are 3 things everybody should know about you?
I love to cook. I actually, if you don't really know me, I can either be really, really quiet at first and kind of like shy, but then I warm up and I'm also just very, very sarcastic. Like, I'm not really serious most of the time, and 99% of the time if I say something, like, I'm probably kidding, but I just say it with a straight face, so a lot of people, if they just hear it from a distance or they just don't know me, they think I'm serious or mean.
Yeah.
And I guess for a third, I'm one of 5 in my family.
Oh,
super
okay.
exciting, but I have a brother and a sister, and then my parents, who I'm super close with. If you are friends with me on social media, you see my parents in a lot of my posts and stuff because they are crazier than I am. They're good people, though.
Where do you fall in the 5?
The baby.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. What's that like?
No complaints.
Okay.
Absolutely none. I wasn't really like a rebellious kid, really, but got caught up with my sister and stuff again, just kind of following in her footsteps and stuff, but nothing serious or anything, but I prefer it.
Yeah, okay. See, I'm the second oldest. Well, there's 4 of us, so me and Bobby are kind of like both in the middle. Mm-hmm. So it's like we're not the oldest, we're just kind of like, we're the middle kids. In a way, but I do want to try this. I know you brought this on here, and there was a lot of talk about your soups on the Facebook page. So what do we have here?
So that's chicken broccoli cheddar. I kind of go off of, it was a Panera copycat recipe for the broccoli and cheddar.
Okay.
I just like to spice it up a little bit and add chicken to it. I usually just do a rotisserie and just take the skin off and shred it. It's super easy. But I also kind of just use the recipe as like a guide, and I season it my own way and everything.
Okay. So now I'm not a soup expert, but I will give this a try. I do like reviews on poutine, but that's like the only thing. So I'm no expert here. We will. I did not try this before the show, and we will give it. I guess my thoughts on it. All right, big piece of broccoli there. That is pretty good. Is that a good flavor? I do get a Panera vibe.
I think the secret to the ingredient that brings the Panera or whatever is that I've seen is the nutmeg.
Okay.
It's weird, but it works. That and red chili flakes.
All right, we'll give it. I don't rate these often. We'll give it 8.5. Is that a good rate? No, that's pretty good. Now what's with the soups though? Like, is that like your calling card kind of thing?
I love making soups just because there's so many different types and you can just be flexible with them. And I am a psychopath who I don't care if it's 100 degrees. If I want soup, I'll eat soup. I'll make it. I'll buy it. Whatever. They're easy. They're comforting, especially like this time of year now, fall and winter. We do a Friendsgiving tailgate at the Pats game every year.
Okay.
My traditional thing for the last 3 years now is going to be just bringing a giant pot of soups. It's cold out there and stuff too.
Oh yeah.
So it's easy to feed a crowd and everything. But soups are pretty much my favorite, and like any type of like pasta dishes or like I like doing one skillet meals.
Okay. Do you have a go-to soup that's your favorite?
I guess my go-to, which is pretty popular amongst my friends and stuff, is a creamy chicken and rice.
Okay.
It's really, really easy to make, but it's just so good and it's comforting and it's thick.
Nice.
It's good.
I'm big, over the years, I like kale sausage. Have you had one of those soups?
Zuppa Toscana.
Is that what they call it? Mm-hmm. Those are,
I've made that a couple times. It's good.
It's like, I got it at work one time. That's how it was in there before the pandemic and we were all at home. And then I was like getting it at restaurants all the time. So do like a nice soup once in a while. Want to ask this, and shout out to Rai Bouchard, made a joke about this because I say this every week. Sticking with the theme of the show, which is Let Freedom Ring, if you didn't know. What does it mean to you to be an American?
Freedom. I think a lot of people kind of get lost and forget that we actually have it pretty good to compare to other countries and stuff. And when you really take a step back and think about it, it's really, we're not perfect, but could be so much worse. We can vote, we can work, we can disagree and argue, and I don't know, I think people kind of lose sight about how much worse it actually could be.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I think a lot of people, but that also comes into, like, in my opinion too, some of the best things that we have is like you have the right to complain. Mm-hmm. You know, in other places you might not.
I do a lot of that. You know? Dramatically.
While we were at the Statue of Liberty this weekend, we went into Ellis Island that ran for, I don't know, 20 years, where people were coming through and just like, I was talking to my brother about this, and I'd like to get your perspective on it a little bit. Like, I think it speaks to where we live is like, I can't imagine living anywhere else. Yet there's people, and I know it's not just our country, right? There's other countries, but like when people come over, it's like you really want, like, your home's your home, and you really didn't want to stay there,
right?
You know, like, what do you think of that?
I think it's just, I mean, depending on where they come from,
yes,
it's definitely tough. I know because I get homesick pretty easily and stuff. So like usually my max for like a vacation or something is like 10 days, and then I'm ready to come home, even if it's like paradise, like Aruba. We go frequently, and by day 10, I'm just ready to come home. And especially, I don't know if it's just New England itself too. Like I'll never, ever, ever leave New England. I need the changing seasons and everything like that. But I guess it really just depends on what exactly they're leaving. And it's kind of sad thinking of, because obviously we've just grew up our whole lives here. And so this is what we're accustomed to with the freedom and everything. Like I can't imagine not being able to drive a car, be able to go work, or even voice my opinion or something like that. And like I said, I think that's just the little things that kind of get forgotten about.
Yeah,
there's a reason that people are coming.
It's crazy. Like, we know someone who's like came from, I don't want to get into like which country or whatever, but loaded there. We're talking generational wealth there. Mm-hmm. People like, you know, not servants, but like housekeepers, all that. Everything they could ever want, and didn't want to stay there. They'd rather be in the United States. Like, that's crazy, mm-hmm. You know? All right, you have a bunch of fan questions, so I do want to get into those. First one from Katie Haley Kirsting. I don't know if you know Nate Dogg, but that's his wife. You're a mental health program coordinator. Her first question is, what is the most difficult part of your job?
So it's kind of changed over the years. Over the last year, I finally have stepped back from direct care and more into like an admin role with billing, auditing, all the behind the scenes stuff. But when I was working in direct care, there were a couple different things. One, you eventually learn to not take work home with you, but we're humans. It happens. But it's definitely tough seeing, I guess, the other side of like the stigma of what if people are just randomly walking down the street and they see a homeless person on the side of the road with a sign. A lot of people automatically, that person's a bum, they're a loser, get a job, blah, blah, blah. But it's like in that field, like you meet those people and you get to know their story and what ended up, like what brought them to that point. And it's really, really sad because a lot of people just assume they think they know and they just assume like, oh, they just need to go get a job. But there's so much more to it that people wouldn't even consider to think about unless they either worked in the field or got to know clients like that. Another part that was really tough, especially when I first got into the field and when I was doing case management, was when I was out of college, 22, 23, whatever, and getting paired with people who are my age and living in a complete opposite situation or scenario that I am, and like me having to be there to help them through and everything. And sometimes it could get really stressful because, again, you try not to take it home with you, but sometimes if they're losing their housing that day and then all the shelters are full and they have nowhere to go, it's like there's nothing you can do at that point. And it's just hard as a human to know that that's happening and stuff, especially when the person's like my age or younger. There's just a lot of different factors. It's a tough field, honestly. There's a lot of burnout and stuff, and it's hard, but it can be rewarding too.
Is there a way that you try not to take it home with you? Is there a way, like when I used to work in the schools, I'd have certain situations that were really hard. Is there anything is there meditation you do or anything like that? How do you?
I mean, self-care is definitely huge, and they kind of teach you that from the beginning when you get into the field, even at like entry level. Like you have to be able to find ways to take care of yourself and have an outlet. So that's always been huge for me. But also, as you gain more experience too, you really learn one side of not taking things personal. Because when you're dealing with clients that are really mentally ill or have substance abuse disorders, things like that, and whether they're actively using and they're just not all there and stuff, if something inconvenient happens, suddenly you're the one person in front of them and it's all your fault and you didn't do this, you didn't do that, whatever. It can be tough. So you learn not to take things personally. But then also you learn too that not everyone's crisis is your crisis.
Yeah.
And again, it's a lot easier said than done and stuff, but over time and everything, you kind of learn how to balance it out.
Yeah, I could see that. Like you kind of, it's like almost like you have to get thicker skin, which it's got to be tough, but almost like to be good at it, you might not have a choice.
Right.
You know. No, it's good perspective. I mean, you're right. I think a lot of people, and I look at it differently as someone who battled alcoholism. I would see people on the street and think, that could be me if I don't fix this. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what happens. So, I think our society does have an issue with that. It's like you don't know their story,
right?
And
people don't realize too. Like, say someone who's been living outside for 10 plus years, like they're resourceful, they figured it out. And then an apartment opens up or whatever, and they either choose not to go or they don't last more than a month, and everyone's like, oh, you should be grateful, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I mean, but if they've been living their last 10 years outside without having to pay, like knowing how to pay bills or having the steady income and budgeting, like there's so much more to it than just a roof over their head. Like it's anxiety provoking and stuff, and everybody's different. Not everyone has support system, not everybody has family or close friends or anything like that, and so some people are truly alone and they would rather just stay in their ways because it's what they know and they're comfortable with.
Yeah, I mean it's tough, and you think you see a lot of like motivational speeches on Facebook and social media, and you go, I love them, but you got to be in the right place to hear that message. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, Dave Coulis has a few questions here. You know Cooley,
course.
the umpire. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, we don't know if they're dating. It's a perfect merger. The number one league, the number one pop star. How long will the Kelce and Swiftie last?
Hopefully forever. I don't know. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But at the same time, like, even if this is a whole PR stunt, I love the two personalities together. People don't understand, like, she's very, very smart. And she's hilarious. And Travis Kelce, he's a class act. He's funny. Like, whether it's actually something or it's not, it's funny. It's entertaining right now. And regardless of what happens, she's going to put out an absolutely fire album anyway. So,
Well, you know what? It's kind of like she just toured for this last year, right? Oh, you did? Yes. And
To the
that
rain show.
very hard ticket to come by. But if she wants to go chill at football games in her time off,
she's existing. It's
You know.
the media that's blowing her up. She's literally just existing, and she's out with her friends, and she's back to kind of just being out in the public instead of hiding her relationship and everything. But at the same time, she's just existing as a human, and the media's taking it too far.
well, you know, it reminds me like she, and we don't talk a lot about this person on the show because I do think he's guilty. She's the Michael Jackson of this era. Like, she can't go anywhere. And it's like he was this bizarre guy that you never would have seen there. And it's like Taylor Swift is just a normal pop star living her life. Like, what's the big deal?
Right.
You
And
know?
if people actually like got the time to just, there's a documentary out on Netflix about her and everything, like, she actually is like a very genuine person. She's very giving. She's got a personality and stuff. She's very, very smart. Like, if you tell me that, oh, she just writes breakup songs, then you're just telling me you haven't listened to her since 2008. And at that point, I'm just not even going to waste my time arguing because I have the time to argue. So
I mean, she does have songs that I'm not a huge Taylor Swift fan, but I do listen to the music at times. You know, and she has a song, "Hey, it's me, I'm the problem, it's me." It's like, who can't relate to that?
Right.
And if you can't relate to it, then, you know, you probably are the problem. 100%. You know?
seriously, she's written songs about her mother's cancer diagnosis. She wrote a song for a boy who just passed away just before he was 4 years old from childhood cancer. There's a song that she possibly, it's speculation, she might have had a miscarriage and stuff. And it's like, no matter who you are, I guarantee there is a Taylor Swift song for you that relates to something. But again, like, they're not all just about breakups and stuff. And if you don't want a song written about you, then don't do something stupid.
Yeah, I mean, but that's any artist, though. That's the thing. That's how you know she's like the number one, because that's what artists do. They write about, you know, Janet Jackson always says her songs were an autobiography. Now, when Janet's singing, you know, breakup songs, no one liked her ex-husband, so no one cared, you know, or even knew who he was, you know. So, want to ask this: do you really think Karen Reed is innocent? What am I missing?
1,000%. So if you're into crime and whatever, this is happening out of Canton, Massachusetts. You might have heard about it. I think it was 2022. Woman accused of running over her Boston cop boyfriend.
Okay. I've heard maybe something about this.
So much evidence and just corruption, and if I literally get into this, I'll spend the entire show on it. But quickest way to just catch up on all of the information with the cover-up, and I just have one question. So if you're a Boston cop and you go out with a bunch of people, there's another Boston cop, you don't really know each other well, whatever, but you all go back to your house, have a party, you fall asleep, whatever, and then you find out that the body of that Boston cop who was at your house or you were out with that night was found dead outside in the snow on your lawn. Would you come outside at one point at all?
Chances are, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
I know Boston's a little different than, you know, Merrimack, New Hampshire, but...
Well, no, so this happened in Canton, though. But the
Canton,
owner of the house was a Boston cop, and the guy
okay.
who died was a Boston cop. But there's so much... One of the people in the house, she Googled how long to die in the cold, like 4 hours before the body was even found. Plow driver went by at the time the body was supposedly found and said that there was absolutely nothing there. He would have seen it. But on YouTube, it's a video. It's about 30 minutes, and it's called Framed. And it's all about Karen Reed and everything that's come uncovered. And there's so much blatant corruption. It's so incredibly frustrating to see that all of this has come out, and for some reason this case still hasn't been
Is
dropped.
she in prison?
No, she's out on bail now, but she was for a little bit.
I mean, that's why I've never been a big fan of the death penalty, just because there are people that have been executed that were innocent.
Right. I want, if anyone wants to talk to me about the case, I just ask, just watch that video, and then we'll discuss it.
Did you ever follow the Maura Murray situation? That's a New Hampshire thing. She's been missing since 2004.
So not earlier. It's kind of like later, only because her sister actually came across on my TikTok.
Okay.
And talking about all the things that have happened since. Definitely a strange case.
Yeah, I mean, it's coming up on the 20-year anniversary, and that's one that I've always been obsessed with because it's like, where is she?
Right.
You know.
And how can we not find her with?
I don't know, and there's a lot of good stuff I would look up on that. It does mess with your head a little bit.
Yeah.
But, he also wants to know, why do you hate Brett Bellerose? And he also says he's a great kid.
Have you met Brett Bellerose?
I've met Brett. I don't know him super well, but I like him.
He's a pest. I don't actually hate him. The amount of people who see us like going back and forth on Facebook, even people who know we're friends and stuff, will be like, are you guys actually serious? Or are you kidding?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
we're always kidding, but he just has such a punchable face. Just look at him.
Yeah. Oh, poor Brett.
He's like the annoying sibling that nobody ever asked for, but somehow got stuck with, and he's just there.
Is Brett spend a lot of time at your house, or?
He's actually banned from my house.
Oh, he
He's
is?
not allowed back until he pays his dues, so.
Oh, all right. It is funny what people will believe. Someone, we do the pickup softball, and, I'm good friends with Jen Spelios, and I'm always trolling her. And then someone's like, "You really kicked Jen out?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did.
Right.
You're right." But then Brett does have a question himself. Can you leave me alone?
Gladly. If you would just leave me alone. He's like a mosquito. You just keep like swatting at. Just keeps flying back. It's the best way I can describe him.
Poor Brett. We'll have to have him on, and he can explain the situation.
Don't waste your time.
Orlando Aponte. Okay. This is kind of random because we know you guys live together. And are you Justin Haskins' friend?
Just friends. No, but it's just a long time inside joke, considering it took Justin almost like probably 7 months to admit that we were more than just friends.
Oh, okay.
If you're staying at someone's apartment 6 nights a week, showing up everywhere together, you're just friends, or is there more?
Yeah.
So.
He just there's some people date, and you guys are.
Nope. Promise ring.
Okay. That is some people are just more secret, like, you know what I mean. That's just how they are.
Yeah. A little complicated, but I mean, we did things a little differently than most couples and stuff. Like, we were together for, I think, officially 9 months, and then we bought our house.
Okay.
So like, we hadn't even made it a year yet, but we're 4 years going on strong, and
and that happens sometimes. I mean, it's funny, like, people think that it's a one size fits all, right? Like, this is how relationships work, because maybe, and I don't even know if it was like that in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, but like, it's not one size fits all how people date.
Not even close.
So. He also wants to know, did she learn how to cook broccoli yet? I thought that was cooked really well.
Perfect. Well, there you have it.
So, Orlando, I can attest to it. I don't know where that's coming from.
It's just an inside joke that they just won't get over.
Oh, is it one of those that, like, beat it till it's dead?
Cooked for them down in Florida at Worlds last year. And when you're cooking for a team of, like, 13, 14 guys or whatever, we made, like, chicken and broccoli Alfredo or whatever. And the chicken was done, and it was all, like, breaded, bite-sized pieces and stuff. The pasta's like ready or whatever, just waiting on the broccoli. I hate not cooking in my own kitchen. I hate it.
Okay.
Stoves don't work the same, pots and pans, whatever, I hate it. But anyway, they're getting impatient, and then all of a sudden they're starting to pick at the chicken and stuff, and like the food's not 100% ready because we're waiting on the broccoli, which is the slowest stove ever. And I was like, you know what, screw it, whatever, just gonna eat it, whatever. And it was more on like the raw, well, not raw, but still a little crunchy, whatever, and I haven't lived it down since.
Yeah, get with the program, guys. You're lucky someone's cooking.
Imagine.
You know?
Imagine that.
And then his last question is, how often does Justin get a haircut?
He can ask him that because it's all about me right now. So
Exactly.
he can ask him. They talk enough, so I tell him all the time, go date him.
Oh, is that,
They're inseparable on the phone constantly.
Oh.
Spent the whole weekend together, then they're on the phone. I'm all set.
Okay. All right. That sums that up. Ryan Brown asked, he misbehaving and nervous on a first date. We kind of talked, we weren't sure what this question even...
Beastmo's always misbehaving, so we'll just chalk it up at that.
Okay, he's just one of those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Mark Hill, any relation?
My dad.
Okay, all right. Question from Dad. Can you tell me the story of that?
Literally just a phrase that I used to say all the time when I would ask my dad or my brother or my mom to tell me a story or something. I would just, for some reason, just say, can you tell me the story of that? And to this day, him and my brother constantly repeat it. That I used to call Cape Cod, Cape of Cod.
Oh, okay.
I used to go down there for vacations, my brother's hockey tournaments, things like that. And I would just, it was one of my favorite places. And I was just always asking, can we go to the Cape of Cod?
Yeah, yeah. What,
It gets better, honestly.
Was there a specific town that you'd say in? When you were down there?
Hyannis.
Oh, that's where my brother Tim got married.
Yep.
And I love Hyannis.
Yeah. We go to Hyannis, and then he would always play in like an annual tournament on the vineyard too.
Oh, okay. Did you guys go to any of the Cape Cod baseball games back in the day at all? Or?
Not back then. I want to.
Yeah.
Like now that I'm older and realize like what the league was or what it is and everything, but never a chance when I was younger.
We went to the Falmouth Commodores, but I've been trying to go back there for 30 years.
Yeah.
And I've been to the Cape while they were playing and still didn't make it. So
I've seen like they get packed. Like,
Yeah.
They're busy.
And I think it's like I'm pretty sure you bring your own cooler in and everything like that.
cool.
So, Dean Hand has a question, the Honorable Dean Hand.
Great guy.
And I like this question because I was curious about it too. With all your potential, why did you stop playing softball?
I stopped having fun, and I realized that I just didn't care anymore. So playing like with tournament teams and things like that, you're never going to catch me out doing BP to get better because I just didn't care at all. I'd just rather do something else. And the older I got too, especially with being in a relationship with someone else who plays softball too, is you realize that it's not always going to be, hey, do you both want to play as like a package deal thing too. Sometimes
Sure.
like girls are a lot harder to find than guys, and you only need a couple of them. And so obviously part of dating someone who plays, like you want to play together and everything, but it just became too much. And like the older we get and stuff, like I want to travel to places that don't involve a ball field. And there's nothing worse. Like I don't mind supporting and everything, but there's nothing worse when you go to a tournament and you play an 8 o'clock game and it's like, all right, we won, now we play at 2.
Yeah.
It's like 100 other things I'd rather do than sit around and watch softball that entire time and stuff. But most of the time, especially if you're far away, like you're there for the day and just miss out on a lot of stuff.
I kind of agree with I think the tournaments, it's like you got to really want to be there and really, because it can be an all-day affair. I've been on teams where it's not so much of an all-day affair, and I can only imagine what's like, you know, in the few times that I've had teams that have gone far. It's I used to wrestle in high school, and I hated tournaments.
Yeah.
I hated being there all day. You know, so
That's what it turned into, because we'd play with like leagues and stuff for like fall ball, and even with like groups of some of our closest friends who I have such a good time with, like I'd just wake up and I would just dread having to just go spend the next hour and a half, or if it was a whole tournament or something, like having to just dedicate my day doing that when I really didn't even want to be there anymore.
yeah.
And it's just, the older I get too, the less it became more of a hobby, and it was like kind of teetering with like a lifestyle, and like I don't want that
Got it,
lifestyle
yep.
anymore. It's like cool, I feel like, if you're young and single or whatever, but the older we get, it's just there's so much more.
Do you think you'd ever just find like a once a day, a week league that you just like to hang out in, or like are you just not having fun playing, period?
Not with softball. Like I just played for the first time all year, really, a couple weeks ago in Orlando's Yogi Memorial Tournament, which I'll always play for because it's just in tribute to friends that we've lost.
Yeah.
Friends, family members, things like that. But if anything, like I'd rather just get back into volleyball.
Okay.
Because that's where like I still have fun and I still really enjoy it, but probably not with softball.
Where do you play in like the My Social?
I like to play there in the winter just to give me something to do. I had actually just asked to start a session that started like last week, or actually I think it started today. But I'm going to wait till coaching's done completely, reset for a little bit, and then pick up like one night a week.
Nice. I used to play, and
It's so fun.
my team was not very good. But at one point we got a D1 player, this girl Robin. Robin was nasty. She just moved here from North Carolina at the time. And then all the other teams tried to take her, and she goes, no. And so she I started to learn, but I wish I could go back to volleyball, but I like a novice division until I really figure it out.
My social sports is the perfect place to get back into it.
Well, the one at National Catholic when I was playing there,
So they have
there's only
different-
like 2 teams
they
that
have,
were
like,
like on our
different
level.
levels.
Oh, okay, maybe it's different now because this
Yeah.
was like 9 years ago. I'll have to look into that though.
But I mean, the same thing with the My Social Volleyball tournaments are pretty similar to softball. Like, there's always one like insanely
Superpower.
stacked team that has zero business in the or in that tournament, whatever. But it's fun, it's local, whatever. But volleyball's just always been a fun game where anyone can play. It doesn't matter your skill level. Like, you just meet up with a group of people on the beach or at a backyard or something in the pool. Everyone has fun.
I had a blast, and like Robin, who was on our team, she was really teaching us, and I started to really get it. You know, I was the idiot that's like, no, just get over the net as fast as possible. You know. Sammy Romano wants to know: would you tell a Duluth dumpster fire that their trash is 2 sentences or less? I don't know what that's in.
We're just gonna skip that question.
Okay.
Not very.
Is she a friend of yours, Sammy?
Sammy, yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know her that well, but I've seen her on Facebook. I do want to ask this because I am curious, because I know this was a school that was really important to you, and it was the community, really. Your time at Daniel Webster College, how did you decide you wanted to go there?
So I actually, despite living 15 minutes from it in Hudson, didn't even know it existed until I had gotten approached by the coach, recruited my senior year. I was looking at the time between that and Riviere, but just with it being a smaller school, not as chaotic or crazy or whatever, I didn't really know. I knew I was going to go in with a psych degree, but I was pretty much whatever the word is, undecided up until like the last minute. But really, it was just getting recruited there and actually finding out. Because like I said, I'm really close with my parents and stuff too, and I've never really gone off like far away on my own and stuff. So it was nice being able to stay there, but also be able to come home, do my laundry, sleep in my bed if I wanted to. I legally lived on campus my junior year, but freshman, sophomore, and senior year, I would just move in with friends who either had like a double to themselves or just stay with friends, things like that.
Oh, nice. And so it was volleyball and softball? Or?
Yep. I did all 4 years volleyball. I really only did one full season of softball from beginning preseason going to Florida the whole year. And then this next year I had done just like the preseason stuff, like went to Myrtle Beach for spring training, things like that. But I wasn't really into fast pitch anymore either. And yeah, just wasn't really for me anymore.
All right. Now, how exactly? Now we know it's closed, and I wish they would do something with the fields and stuff like that. I think that's unless the city has, and I haven't been paying attention. How did it close? How did you feel when you found out?
So ITT bought us out my freshman year, or it was announced that they'd be buying us out or something. And I remember specifically, it was almost like you would have thought someone got shot. Because they had announced all the flight students for the flight program. They announced to them first. And then it was literally like a scene from a movie, like everyone's outside crying, calling their parents. Like, I didn't really understand it that much, and I didn't really care because I didn't understand it. But as time went on, people didn't want their name associated with ITT, which can't say I blame them because they tanked and went under, and there was a whole fraud, whatever. But worked out my benefit because I got a free degree out of it.
Oh,
I got
okay.
all of my loans refunded and completely
That's amazing.
just discharged, so that was nice. But I didn't really understand it. But the thing that sucked, like as time went on, was that it was like every semester more and more friends and teachers were leaving and transferring. With it being the flight school and everything, everyone who was already there my year and above was grandfathered in. But again, no one really wanted their names attached to ITT, so a lot of people went to, I think it's Embry-Riddle in either Florida, Arizona for flight school, things like that. And lost a lot of professors because of it too. But I mean, I still have no regrets. I had the time of my life there.
Yeah.
I honestly think if I could go back in time and do it all over again, I probably would. just because my best friend, she played D1 soccer at U Albany, so I spent plenty of weekends like traveling out there because it's not very far. So got to experience like bigger school frat parties, things like that and stuff. But I like the small school environment.
Absolutely. Did you know Monique Duda there?
Oh yeah, she's the best.
So
One of
when
our athletic trainers.
Yeah, she was so I coached wrestling, and she was like, I didn't really have an assistant coach like ever. So Monique was almost like partly my team mom, but like assistant to like help me with paperwork, and she's fantastic.
She was everyone's team mom. She literally became like a mentor.
Yeah, and it's crazy now because now Owen is like I'm like seeing his Facebook posts, and I'm like, where's this time go? You know. Any thoughts on the legacy of the school? What PL will be remembered, or?
I mean, I just wish that it wasn't like kind of just becoming like abandoned. I think the junior Cyclones or something, the hockey team, is utilizing some of the dorms there, and I think Riviere's baseball team now uses the baseball field, so it's good that it's not completely abandoned. But for someone who works in mental health and now knowing like there's a housing shortage and the shelters are full, it's getting cold outside, knowing all of these 16 townhouses and like 6 dorm buildings, one of which was built in probably 2013, 2012, like are just sitting there when they have numerous dorms and showers, and like they could use it as a warming center and all this stuff. Like it's just literally going to waste.
Yeah, I hope the city
I heard
figures
that
out.
The guy who had originally bought it was under the assumption that it was still a fully operating college. I don't think he apparently realized like it closed and there was nobody there, and so he's from China or something.
Oh, so he's not keeping up on current events.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, so did you get the degree that you have from there? Is that in the mental health field?
Yep,
or?
I have a bachelor's in science and psychology.
Okay, so how did you decide that's what you wanted?
And like I said, it was a very last minute decision. I originally was going in undecided, but then with psychology kind of decided I knew I wanted to help people in some form, in some way eventually, but I had no idea how or what. To be honest, I really didn't even want to go to college and get a degree. It was kind of my dad forcing me and saying like, go get your degree, play volleyball. I always wanted to do massage therapy, but that doesn't require a college degree. And he was like, if you still want to do it after you graduate, fine, but get a degree first. And I don't regret it and everything, but it was tough because like I wasn't a bad student, but it wasn't my favorite either. It was just average. And I remember with psychology, I was like, there's so much that I could do with that. And I feel like it was also just interesting. And I'm also terrible at math, so I knew it was one way to just kind of weasel around that and not have to take many math classes, so that was nice.
Yeah, no, it's funny you say that because like we look back, and at 18 years old, none of us have any clue what we want. And it's like we're asked to make decisions that could impact, 20, 30, 40 years of our lives. So it's kind of crazy. I got to ask this, though. We kind of talked about like the toughest parts of the job, but what's the most rewarding part?
I mean, knowing that you've made a difference in people's lives, and when something works out, whether it's someone gets housing or someone who hasn't had any insurance finally gets their insurance back, or dealing with a person who is involved with DCYF and they beat their case because they actually improved and turned their life around and they were able to be sober, reunited with their children and everything. Like, there's a lot of good in it too. So it doesn't always have to be bad. It can be really, really rewarding, and just knowing that you had some part in that just makes you feel a little better. Nice.
Do you see that, like, is that like kind of like the journey you want to stay on? And
so I just, not anymore. I even at times really wondered if I needed to make a complete career change, just because I was just really burnt out with just things going on in my personal life, and then just not really knowing where I stood anymore with like the passion for it. So that's why now with this new role, I'm still involved, just not on the front lines, direct care and everything, just kind of on the back end.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I never thought I would get away from teaching, and now, at 30, I just decided I was going to make a change. And it's tough. It's like,
it's terrifying.
It really is, and you never, but It's part of life, I guess. I want to ask, I know we talked about Taylor Swift a little bit. I do want to just bring this back because I know you're passionate about it. These NFL fans that, I'm seeing the posts that are like getting mad about that.
Yeah.
Feel a little ridiculous.
Just imagine having a real problem.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. Like, just go complain about something that matters.
I like that she's there. I think it's, I guess I like pop stars, right? And I like football.
Yeah.
Good mix together.
It's really not that bad.
Yeah.
I just don't understand, like, why it upsets so many people. Like, I understand, like, it's football, it's this, they shouldn't be together, and, like, but again, it's what it is.
It's entertainment.
Right. Exactly.
Want to ask this because I know you've been commenting on the page because we're doing the polls there. I know you're a big Halloween fan. We've talked about this at the field before. Yes. Of the Halloween movies, what's your favorite?
I think H2O.
Okay.
Halloween H2O terrified me the most.
Did you see that in theaters, or was it by any chance, or?
I don't remember.
I think it was 98 it came out, if I'm not mistaken.
I only would have been 8, so probably not.
Okay.
But my sister's aunt used to have every DVD known to man. And my sister's, just like me, absolutely loves horror movie. She's a Chucky girl, though. She's got Chucky tattooed on her. She walks around with a Chucky backpack. She just did a poster. Like I said, my sister and I are complete polar opposite. You would never know that we were related if you saw us next to each other. But yeah, definitely Halloween H2O that terrified me the most. But I think you had asked about Halloween Ends.
Yeah, I do. That's I got asked that. I did a review on it last year. Before I even say anything about that, what's your take?
I hated it.
Thank you.
He is not the type to buddy up. The only time, like, he was always known, it didn't matter who you were, like, there was never that emotional connection with him. The only time there was anything I feel like remotely close was in the Rob Zombies with the flashbacks with the mother, with Sherry Moon Zombie, who, phenomenal horror actress, I love her. But other than that, like, the fact that he teams up and suddenly, like, is a dynamic duo, like, that's not, it made me really mad.
There was, like, endless amounts of, like, so a lot of the times with these sequels, they rush them. Like when they did Halloween 4, they put out Halloween 5 within a year. And if you watch Halloween 5, it's so disorganized. At one point, they made like clown music for the police. It was like, that doesn't fit what these movies have been like. So they rushed that. So you'd think that was like 30 years ago, they would learn from mistakes. Halloween Ends, it's like you had a really good story going from Halloween Kills.
Right.
And you just like ripped it up and just made a different movie.
And like I got excited. I always appreciate when movies will include like the original cast. So like keeping Jamie Lee Curtis in it and everything I loved that. But again, I just think it was such a waste, and I was so disappointed. Like halfway through the movie, I'm like, I don't even want to finish this right now. But I need to see how it ends. And then how it ended again, I'm like, now we're just ruining it and dragging it out. It's okay to actually end it.
There was so much they could have done. What was the point of killing your daughter at the end of Kills? That went out the window. She's just okay with it. He's been missing for a little bit. That was so silly. He's barely on the screen. You introduce a new character in a third movie. The whole story is Laurie, Michael, and you add it just was like, you had two really good movies going together, and you want the big payoff, and they didn't give it.
Right. Which I'm assuming there's another one coming based on how it ended and everything, but like I'm not in any rush to see it and stuff just because I'm so disappointed with it.
No, that's one of those things of history repeating itself. Like I said, I use the comparison because it's just 4 and 5, but like maybe wait on Halloween Ends for a few more until you really figured out the right script.
Right. And even with like the Scream movies and stuff, like I loved 1 through 3. After 3, really I saw them but wasn't interested. And then I got really excited when they brought back the original cast and stuff. But I also I'm like forever stuck in like nostalgia with like 90s and 2000s and things like that. So I hate when movies just keep up with the times and then they have people like FaceTiming and just doing like today's technology and stuff. Like it's just, I don't know, it annoys me.
Yeah, those are, I have enjoyed the new Screams. I know they didn't want to pay Neve Campbell. But I mean, this is me, and I don't know if they'll do it. pay her for the 8th movie, I believe it would be Scream 8. Maybe it'd be Scream, I don't know, I've lost track. Scream 7?
I want to say 7.
I think it's 7. I want her to be the killer. Bring her back.
I saw like a theory and stuff saying though that she goes after like all the copycats. Did I just tag you on this on Facebook? I saw like this forum.
I think you did, yeah.
Which either way, at some point. But then I wonder, would it be too predictable?
Yeah, this last one too. It was one of those things where it's like that movie was good until the last part of the movie. I went, yeah, you didn't do it for me. But I still I just enjoy them. I'll rewatch them. But
Yeah.
do you have a top 5 favorite musicians?
I think the obvious Taylor Swift. That's hard because, like, again, I can't remember the last time I listened to the radio. As soon as I get in the car, Bluetooth goes on to my Spotify, and again, it's either 90s and 2000s R&B, hip hop, rap, 2000s pop, Taylor Swift. Really kind of recently started getting into Sabrina Carpenter.
Okay.
Like her a lot.
What type of music is she?
Pop. She's
Okay.
actually opening for Taylor in this new leg of their show and everything.
Oh, all right.
But she's like newer. Like a lot of like country, but like I said, I don't really hear a lot of like new things because I don't listen to Pandora. So everything I have is like on my libraries or like playlists put together, things like that. So I really don't have any other like favorites, I guess.
Yeah, I have to agree with you too. It's hard to keep up with the new stuff, and
I hate today's music. I think it's absolute garbage.
it's really a lot of it's pretty bad, especially hip hop. I mean, I don't, anybody watching this is just going to tell me you're listening to the wrong stuff. That's fine. It's hard to find good R&B these days. But even the other day, I listened to Big Pun, Don't Want to Be a Player, and I knew there was a song that came out that used his took a sample from that. And I'm like, who sung that? Like, and I thought it was even further back, but I guess it was 10 years ago. And it was Ariana Grande and Mac Miller. And I went, for all 10 years, I had no idea that's who sang that song. And I used to listen to it all the time on the radio.
Yeah.
And I was like, I guess I did know a Mac Miller song. And I I was like, I thought I'd never heard Ariana Grande in my life.
Yeah.
Apparently I did. Any TV shows you're watching? Any favorites?
So Justin and I are super late to the game. We've been watching Game of Thrones,
Okay.
which it took this long because despite everyone saying like, oh my God, it's so good, I was like, this is not the type of show I would ever find myself enjoying. But I watched it, got hooked, really like it. So we're in the middle of season 5 right now. It's kind of the same thing. Like I watched a lot of the same shows as comfort shows, which One Tree Hill is
I
definitely
remember that show,
a comfort
yeah.
show. Because I didn't watch it back then. I watched it, I think, for the first time in like 2015 when I was like nannying, had some free time on my hands. Sons of Anarchy was something that I watched later on that has also now kind of weirdly become a comfort show. Don't ask me why. Yeah, I don't watch a ton of TV either just because I'm not home super often, and when I am, it's usually either catching up on Game of Thrones or just watching the same stuff over and over.
Yeah, I can be like I'm more now Netflix than I never was like that before. That's probably like the last. Well, I guess things have changed. Like the last show I probably watched religiously every week it was on was The Office,
Okay.
and I don't think I've. Oh yeah, it's all been Netflix. Like because Ozark. I was really into Ozark, and I just watched it all and.
Yeah.
That was it. TV's changed.
It has.
You know.
Actually, one show that I watched after I had just finished the last season was this year. Was the spinoff of Sons of Anarchy, the Mayans.
Oh, okay.
That was pretty good. Sons of Anarchy was way better, and then kind of Mayans just, I feel like they kind of rushed the last season and stuff. It wasn't that great, but it wasn't bad.
It's hard. I mean, and it's funny. It's like fans of stuff like we can criticize. I can't imagine what it's like trying to write this stuff.
Right.
You know. All right. I want to get into one of my favorite segments of the show, which is blank versus blank. I'm going to give you two things. You got to pick one. Tell me why.
Okay.
All right. If there was a showdown between Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees, who you
Michael.
taking?
100%.
You think you could take even zombie Jason?
Yeah. I was never really a fan, especially like him going to the moon and like outer
Oh,
space and
yeah,
stuff or
that
whatever.
was bad.
Like, Michael over everyone.
We have brought this up before, and people were like, he would take the original Jason, but then when Jason comes back and is this zombie that, like, it's questionable.
It's like they both never die somehow.
No.
Despite being killed numerous times.
No, I don't. And if they bring Michael back in that series, I don't know how they're going to do it. Freddy or Jigsaw? What do you prefer?
Ooh. I think I'd have to go with Freddy because he's just more of a classic. Jigsaw, I think I saw the first maybe 3 and then kind of stopped after that. But I did hear that the newest one is apparently really, really good.
Oh, really?
And I looked up spoilers because I have anxiety.
Okay.
And I might go see it. But I think Freddy in terms of just because it's a classic. But Jigsaw clearly is more twisted and sick.
Yeah, I mean they're both like I'm probably because I'm a franchise guy. I like well they're both franchises, but I guess I would take the Freddy movies over the Saw movies.
Yeah.
And Robert Englund was just pretty close to us, and you could do like a photo op. So I look it up and I'm like, I would love that. It was $135.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't justify that. And then I heard the lines were just
I'm sure.
insane.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to meet him, which is fine.
Could happen one day. Yeah. You never know.
Halloween as a kid or Halloween as an adult, the actual holiday?
As a kid, because since childhood, I feel like it's never felt the same. And I don't know, like, I always get, when I'm on TikTok, I end up, like, down a rabbit hole or something. I always love, like, the nostalgic videos where it will show, like, just clips of what Halloween was like in the 90s with, like, the orange bags where you'd fill your leaves up and they'd look like pumpkins in the yard.
Yes,
and
yeah.
But I also was really, really, really lucky as a kid because my sister, her aunt, who had all the movies, she was my sister's godmother, and so she didn't have any kids. My sister was basically like her. So my sister's my half sister, but she treated us both like her kids and everything. And every year, like we had no business having parties the size of like what were basically like high school parties, but for like middle school. She lived in Andover, had a huge yard. She used to get like ponies and like they would come, people with like the animals and stuff. There would literally be like 75 kids there, all their parents and everything. She had like a big house, and every year like decorating for it was the highlight of our week just because like my sister would literally pass flyers around in school.
Oh, wow.
In Lowell.
Yeah.
And like to this day, like when our aunt passed away, like people were commenting, like, I remember the epic Halloween parties. Like she was such a great woman. She's also another reason as to why like I like to cook so much, because she was a cook and used to let us help her in the kitchen and stuff too. But definitely when we were younger, for sure.
Absolutely. No, yeah, it's a hard one. I've been wanting to ask that one to someone because it's such a different.
It stinks now because like in the neighborhood we live in now, like it's all like there's kids and stuff in the neighborhood, but it's like a quiet, small side street and stuff. So we usually get like 6 trick-or-treaters max now.
Oh, see, that's tough.
And like I get literally every year, I always still buy like candy just in case, like holding out hope that like this will be the year, because the last thing I want to do is be unprepared.
Yeah.
But like every year, like doors open, lights are off inside, on outside, whatever, and I'll either sit outside like with either Halloween style cocktail or whatever, or inside like watching either Hocus Pocus or Halloween or something, just because I love the vibe.
I feel like that's a thing though. I feel like everybody I ask about trick-or-treaters says the same thing. Mm-hmm. They don't get that many. And I'm like, is that just, I'm starting to wonder if it's a generation thing.
I think it's ridiculous too though. Yeah. Like the last couple of years with like windstorms and stuff, they're canceling Halloween and it's like a different day. And it's like, no. I remember I used to get so mad at my mom. She'd always make me wear a t-shirt under my Halloween dress or something, and it would throw off the look, but whatever. But rain, snow, sleet, hail, wind, Halloween was never canceled.
No.
And it's just ridiculous.
We went one way or another.
Right.
Speaking of candy at Halloween, Skittles or Starburst?
Skittles.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm. Not even close.
Would you rather have a Snickers or a Reese's?
Reese's.
Yeah, I'm about the same. Mm-hmm. I did find a new Reese's I really like. It's thin, dark chocolate. Huh. It is, you gotta try them.
I got a couple people up in arms because I posted what I consider the holy trinity of Halloween candy, and I had Reese's, Kit Kat, and Crunch Bar. But a lot of people were upset that there was no Snickers, which is a close second. But if you give me a Crunch bar or Snickers, I'm going Crunch every time.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Yeah, I'm not huge in either one, but yeah, I can see Snickers is obviously they have the best commercials, right? Who'd you rather your quarterback, Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi?
Is it weird that they look alike?
Sort of.
But I guess Mac Jones.
This is tough. They stink.
Growing up with Brady for as long as I can remember watching football, we were so incredibly spoiled, and it's never going to happen like that again.
Not for a long time. I mean,
No.
I just want to be relevant. I really enjoyed the 2021 season, and last year was like, ugh, and this year's like, ugh.
It's like crazy because anytime we had Brady, it was just always, there was really never a question. It was like, oh, are we going to win or is it going to be like a really good game? It could go either way.
Yeah.
Now it's like, are we going to get a win? Are we going to score more than a touchdown? Like,
It's
awful.
It shows you how important the quarterback is, and we had literally the best person that ever did it.
So just that group with Edelman and Amendola, Gronk.
Even before that, like Brady had like 2 separate careers with the same team, and then went and won the Super Bowl, and like what he did is just we can't even. So it's like out of my head. I understand this is our lives now, but geez, Mac. And I'm not saying it's all him, but oh my God, that was hard to watch. Last one. 2 people you know, they had questions in here. Brett Belrose or Orlando Aponte? Aponte. Orlando, I'll eventually get your name right.
I have to choose between them.
Who are you taking? And one you don't have to deal with anymore. The one you take, you still have to deal with. So maybe you don't want to take either.
I don't. If I had to, I guess Orlando. I guess. Final answer.
We'll have to have Brett someday on to explain this. But Sam, I really appreciate you coming on. It's been a blast.
It was a blast.
Everybody out there, have a great week. Keep your heads up. Until next time.